Welcome to another video. This is going to be my last video as far as Metasploitable 2 is concerned, and we are going to exploit Apache Tomcat, the Apache Tomcat Server, which runs on port 8180. So the first thing that you need is to open up a few terminals. The first one is going to be for the Nmap scan. The second one is going to be for MSF console, which is our Metasploit, and we are going to use it for a brute force attack, and we will use it to gain some credentials so we can gain access into the HTTP server. The third one is also going to be for a brute force attack, but it's a different method, as you might know now that we are going to use Nmap scan and use all the scripts that are available to perform a brute force attack against our target host. We will also use this to gain some credentials that we can use potentially for gaining access into the admin page. The fourth one is going to be for creating a payload. This payload will be created in our Kali Linux machine, and we will use the payload that we created to inject it into the HTTP server and gain shell access from our Kali Linux machine. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is go to our Nmap scan that we completed the last time. We open our Nmap scan, we look at the port that we need to exploit. So this is port 8180. It's a TCP port and it's open. It's an HTTP service. This is the model of the service. So you're looking at Apache Tomcat. Right, so we go to the second terminal, which runs Metasploit, which we open Metasploit on. The first thing that we need to search is Tomcat, right? And you have a few modules that you can potentially use, but because I have a lot of issues when it comes to my Metasploit, I'm going to use the ones that are useful for me and the ones that can also be useful for you guys. You have others where you can exploit. This is an exploit module, and you have the manager upload. So this is an Apache Tomcat manager authenticated upload code execution. This you can use to gain shell access from your Metasploit. But in order for you to do that, you have to also have performed a brute force attack. So you have to have some sort of credentials that will enable you to gain access into this part of the exploit. So you have this exploit module. Let me show you the other modules that you have available for you. You have administration. This will allow you, or this will give you a link to the admin page of the Tomcat server. And you have this login utility you can use to perform a brute force attack. You also have this RCE via JSP or Tomcat RCE via JSP upload bypass. This can also be used to gain shell access, but like I mentioned, a few modules do not work on my Metasploit, so I'm obviously going to use the ones that are useful to me, right? So the first one that we are going to use is the login utility, and we are going to use this one to gain credentials. So we'll just go use 63 and we check the options that are available. So we have already these ones already set up, right? So we have the user file, which contains all the usernames, and this is the manager. This is going to eventually go to this link, and then you have the pass file, which contains all the passwords. So that has already been set. The R port, it has to be 8180, so we have to set that one. Our port has to be set to 8180. And what else do we need? Verbose has been set to true, so that's okay. We have to also set the R host to the IP address on the left hand side on our Metasploitable 2 machine. So we go 192.168.8.84. So we have that, and it's already set up. So let's do that. We have to set another one that's very important, the stop on success. So if you forget to set this one, guys, it's going to keep on going, because this is a very huge word list. It's going to keep on going until you decide to stop it manually. So for this task specifically, you don't want to do that. You want to set the stop on success to true, so that when it comes to a matching pair, it stops automatically. Stop on success, set to true. Now we can simply run this exploit. It didn't stop automatically, but it found a matching pair. You have Tomcat and Tomcat. So these are the credentials that we are going to use on another module that we have here. We're going to use these ones on an exploit module, or an auxiliary module, right? Another auxiliary module. So we have credentials we gained from this login utility. Now we have to use those credentials to gain access into the admin page, and this will give us the link to that admin page. Now we can go back to searching the Tomcat server, right? So we gained access into that. So let's clear this. Let's go back and let's search Tomcat again. Now we have to use this auxiliary module. So this is 62, right? So we go use 62, list our options. The R port has been set properly. Now we have because we gained the credentials from the brute force attack that we just performed, we can go and set these details. So we have the Tomcat pass, it's going to be set to Tomcat. We have the Tomcat user, which is also Tomcat. The R pod is okay. We also need to set the R host to 192.168.8.84, and we can simply go exploit. But before we exploit this, let's check the options and see if everything has been set properly, right? So the IP address is okay, the R port is okay, and the Tomcat. All right, so now we can go exploit. We have an HTTP link over here which will lead us to the admin page, right? You can go with this and just simply copy this selection, go into our Firefox, paste and go. This will lead us to this administration tool. We have the details from the brute force attack that we performed recently. Now we can log it. We don't need to save this. So now we have access into this admin page. But if you want access into the home page, you can just simply cancel the following details. So you can simply cancel the admin part and just go to the home page, right? So it's directly going to link you to give you access into this Apache Tomcat server. So that's okay. But I also want to show you guys another method of gaining credentials in case your Metasploit fails. Another method which is on, so you have the first terminal, you have the second one which runs Metasploit, and you have the third one which runs the Nmap script. So this is the command that you're going to need to be able to perform a brute force attack against your target host using Nmap script. So this is another method also of gaining of doing a brute force attack in case your Metasploit doesn't work, right? So you go Nmap, specify the speed at which you want to perform your Nmap scanning at. You specify the script and the port, which is 8180, and the target IP address. So it's going to start, and mind you guys, you have to keep this in mind. This is very important. It's going to take a while for it to complete the scan, right? So it's slower than Metasploit, but it's very reliable. It's certainly more reliable than Metasploit, because sometimes when it comes to a certain modules of Metasploit, it tends to fail. But with this one, it's constant. It makes sure that it gives you all the results you need all the time. So it's going to take 940 seconds, but it also gives you valid credentials, which is Tomcat. So these are the results that we got from our Metasploit brute force attack. So I just wanted to show you guys, in case your Metasploit doesn't work, there's also another method of doing things, which is simple, but it also takes a lot of time. So you have to ensure that you save your Nmap results every time, and you save these by just by writing this command. Let's say you want to save this as or http root. Let's say you want to save this as this one. You just use this option and it'll be saved, so you won't need to scan this all over again, right? So that's something that I wanted to show you, an extra thing that I wanted to show you guys. So now we can go back to our Tomcat server and go into this manager page. We have the credentials from the last time, so we have Tomcat and we have Tomcat. We sign in. You don't need to save these ones. Now once we sign into this server page, we just need to create a payload, and we are going to create a WAR file, and we are going to browse our Kali Linux machine to look for that file which you created in Kali Linux machine, and we are going to deploy it. After deploying it, we are going into that file, and we're going to go into that file and open the shell and create a Netcat session in the Kali Linux machine, right? So that's all that we're going to need. So now we can go into the fourth terminal. Go into the fourth terminal and create a new payload. And how we create that payload is by using a tool called Msfvenom. So let's look at a few options that we need to set on Msfvenom to get our payload running. So we need -p or -- payload. We need to specify the format, so -f or -ff or -- format. So this is going to be the format, which is WAR, right? We also need to specify -o or --out, which is going to be the output path of the file that we are creating, or the payload that we are creating. So let's quit this. We can go Msfvenom --payload. So it's a Java payload, JSP underscore shell reverse underscore TCP, right? So you also need to specify, I'm not quite sure if it's case sensitive or not, but I just write these in capital letters. So we specify the L host, which is our own IP address, 168.8.76. You also need to specify the L port. So this is any port that is not in use by any other service. So let's say, for example, you wanted to use a port that is port 2500, right? So this port is not used by any other service, so you can use this one and listen on it. And you also need to specify the format, -- format, which is a WAR file, and you also need to specify the out, which is going to be the output path, or where you want it to be saved as, or what you want for it to be saved at. So it's going to be saved in this directory, and the name of the file will be shell.war. The WAR is very important. You cannot just write shell, because it's not going to be recognized once you try to upload it on the HTTP server on Firefox. So we can just go ahead and press, or before we press enter, let's quickly check if everything is okay. So this is the L host, this is our own IP address, this is the L port, alright, and this is the format and the payload that we specified over here. So that's okay. So now we just simply press enter, wait for the file to be created. So the file has been saved. It has been saved as shell.war. And in order for us to ensure that this has indeed been created, we can go list all, and there it is at the bottom. Now we want to go back to our Firefox, browse the file that we just created. So it's in the home directory and it's a shell file. So this is shell.war, and we just deploy this. It'll give us a message which will tell us whether the deployment was okay or not. So this is okay, and we can scroll down. We have a shell here, right? So we can go back into the fourth terminal. Let's clear this. We need another tool called Netcat. We have to specify that we are listening on port 2500, and the target IP address is 168.8.84. So I've already done this before, so don't be surprised at the things that you see in the background. But anyway, so this is the verbose mode, which is going to show us whether a live update of everything that is happening, right? So whether our connection has been established or not, or whether we are able to listen on this port or not. So we can just simply run this. So it's listening on this any here. It takes any port that you want to put in as an argument. So now we have this port 2400, so it's listening on port 2500. We go back to our server page, we press this. So you see here you have 0. This is a 0 for sessions, so it means that no session has been created so far. But if you want to create a session, we can go into this. We press the shell. Now we go back to this, to our terminal. Now when we go back to the fourth terminal that we opened, we have connect to this IP address from unknown, which is essentially from this IP address, right? So it now is able to establish some sort of connection. Now in order for us to see that this connection is indeed being created, we just go, who am I? We are Tomcat. So we have been able to log into this target host as Tomcat server, as a Tomcat user. And now that you're logged in as the Tomcat user, you have access into the target host, right? So now you can go print working directory, and it shows you the / here. A / essentially means that this is the root directory. So you have access into the root directory. Of course, let's just imagine that you had a task to go into the desktop or go into any other path really and try to find a flag, right? Let's just say that you were given a task to go into the home directory, go into Msfvenom and find a flag that was in there and try to capture it. So we would go cd home and ensure that we are in the home directory, right? So we go list all. Let's just say that you were given a task to go into Msfvenom. So you go cd Msfvenom, ensure that this is indeed Msfvenom, go list all, and let's just say that your file was in the vulnerable folder or in the vulnerable directory. You can just simply go cd vulnerable and list all, and let's just say your flag was for example these 2 dots, right? So you copy this and paste it wherever your task was given, and you would have completed your task that way. So that's a breakdown on how to hack the HTTP server, the Tomcat HTTP server. It takes a lot of work. It does need you to need some deploying. You also need to know a few tools like Msfvenom. So this is my first time actually using this tool. So you need a few tools to get this sorted. So you need Msfvenom, you need your Nmap scripts if your Metasploit isn't working properly. You also need your Netcat to listen to the port that you just created a service for. So yeah, so I hope you guys like this video, and if you like it or if you have any issues as far as creating a payload that you need to deploy to your HTTP server, just let me know in the comments below, and we'll sort it out.